Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's time for the Brown Sports Bag. From the heart of the Barrens, a weekly local sports machine. Alongside John Butler, here's your host, James Brown.
Well, John, back again this week. We got a lot of fun things to talk about. I guess, let me find my sheet over here. I've done put it to where I couldn't reach it. Anyway, yeah, we're going to start off with some high school football and kind of just break down briefly what happened on Friday night for our teams, and then we're going to talk about the playoffs starting this coming Friday. Let's go ahead and start off with the Glasgow game against Franklin Simpson. It was kind of a fascinating game because, truth be told, in the third quarter, Glasgow was just dead in the water, and that's probably for a couple of reasons. One was they had about 6 guys standing over on the sideline before the game even kicked off who were not playing because of injuries. And we talked about this last week. We didn't know how many people, some people may not play. They may give people a rest. This game doesn't matter a whole lot. In a lot of ways, you're just trying to stay healthy for the playoffs. But a lot of those guys over on the Glasgow sideline were actually out for reasons. I mean, one was, of course, Hunter Scott. We had already talked about this. He was hurt in the Taylor County game a couple of weeks ago, and he's out for 3 months. I talked to him on Friday night. As we had talked about before, sometimes when you have an ankle injury, it's actually better to break the ankle because then you save all the tendons and you can come back a little quicker. And then sometimes it doesn't work out, and his was in the worst case scenario. Right. So he told me he's going to be out for 3 months. I guess he's going to be working to get ready for baseball season.
Right.
Terrible for him, bad for the Scotties.
Sure.
Then Jayden Weinrock was over there. He's basically Kieran Stockton's backup at fullback.
Also a defensive player.
Yeah, key defensive player there at linebacker. He was out with, I think he had a shoulder injury. They're going to get that checked on. Hopefully he'll be back because they're going to need him because Kieran Stockton carried the ball about 27 times on Friday night. He had a huge night, but I'm sure the Scotties would prefer, I'm sure Coach Garman and the coaching staff. A little bit more
balance.
Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't like to ride him quite so much. Keep, like you said, a little more balance. But to that end, Jay Long was also out for the game. I guess we'll see if he'll be back. He's one of the speed receivers, speed backs and that kind of stuff, wing backs, and also plays, defensive back and that kind of thing and is key on that end. And, they had 2 or 3 other guys. I think Javon Clark was also out. I don't know how many of these guys are going to be out again when they play this Friday. I guess we're going to see. I mean, obviously Hunter Scott will be. We'll see the status on the rest of them probably by the time we get to Friday night.
Yeah, there's just so many hits that you can take.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you can go sign somebody off the street and come in and play. So,
Right.
So it's tough for the kids. I mean, it's tough for the team too because they put themselves in a position to go after a state title. Outside the first loss to Woodford County.
Yeah.
But when you start losing key player after key player after key player, that's quite challenging. And all those people that you said, that makes the road extremely difficult. Hopefully, the longer that if they can keep winning games, it doesn't matter if it's ugly or whatever, then maybe there's chances that some of those key players can come back.
Yeah, and on that ugly front, that's basically what that win against Franklin Simpson was. And like I said, Glasgow was dead in the water in the third quarter. I mean, they just weren't playing with a whole lot of energy. They weren't playing particularly well. They were struggling on offense. Their defense was doing well enough, and I think a funny little thing happened in the third quarter. Actually, it was probably in the fourth quarter. Glasgow had stopped Franklin. Franklin had punted. It was a shank punt. Glasgow had good field position, and apparently Franklin Simpson's defensive players were simulating Glasgow's snap.
That's illegal.
Yes, that's illegal, but it wasn't flagged. Glasgow got flagged twice for false starts. And they were telling the officials, and I could see where the officials were in a challenging position because you're in a position as an official out on the field. I mean, you don't know who's saying what necessarily. But I would think after the second time and Glasgow's players saying, look, man, they're calling our snap, you might listen. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
Mississippi State accused Kentucky of doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, what comes around goes around, I guess, in these days and times. So then, basically, what happened out of that? Glasgow got nothing out of possession, but the players got refocused and fired up again, and the game really turned after that possession because Glasgow's defense locked down Franklin Simpson. Kieran Stockton just started basically running dudes over. I mean, whichever guy wanted to get in front of him was going to get punished is basically the way that started going. And Glasgow was getting after him on defense, and they got the 2 touchdowns, came back and won the game.
Scored late to win it.
Yeah, scored late to win it, 21-14. That last drive was just masterful, really. I mean, I think they got the ball back with about 2.5 minutes to go. didn't take a timeout, marched down the field, scored with 18 seconds left. I mean, it was exactly, as a coach,
what you want going into the playoffs, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and as a coach, I would think you would want to see your players step up to that moment because you know they're going to face a lot more ahead of you,
right.
Hopefully. And so they did. And so it was a good win for the Scotties. They ended up with the second place RPI in 3A, which means if they get to this point, at some point they'll have to go to Christian Academy of Louisville and win there instead of being able to host them at home. So unfortunate in the way that worked out because Cal was also playing a larger school, got that buff, won that game pretty handily. So, that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles these days in the RPI ratings. But in all, I think it was a good win for the Scotties because Franklin Simpson had been playing better of late, as they do. You mentioned that last week.
Yeah, Franklin Simpson's they're not Franklin Simpson of 3 or 4 years ago when they were winning state titles.
Yeah.
But they're still a solid 4A football team that tends to be physical and has some good athletes.
Yeah.
Don't throw it real well.
No, they don't.
But that's a good win.
Yeah.
Especially shorthanded.
Yeah. I think that was the part that I was most impressed with, just the energy they came back with.
Right.
So that was a good win for them. Like I said, they get the benefit of playing at home this Friday against Hart County. I think they won their first meeting 57-14. They had everybody there for that one. So you would think they're the favorites to win that.
They are the favorites.
Yep.
It may not be. It may be closer than that because the Glasgow has at times taken their foot off the pedal. You hope they wouldn't for the playoffs, but their games for the Dare and Casey tended to be a little bit closer than people thought.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt they're a heavy favorite.
Yeah, and then Taylor County will be playing KC County, I think it is, on the other side of that bracket in that district round. And you would expect to see Glasgow and Taylor County back over at the Scotties Field there in a couple of weeks. And
that's what it looks like.
Yep, and then hopefully, as you mentioned, all those guys are on the sideline that can get back. Will be back, and if they're not, it's going to be real tough to beat Taylor.
No question.
I can guarantee you. Meanwhile, the Barron County Trojans went down to Allen County Scottsville, and I guess you saw that game.
I did.
Just the results tell me it may be the worst game they've played this year.
It was. I got shellacked, to be honest with you. There's nothing. Not a lot of positives come out of that game. They got beat 43-7, I believe.
Yeah, 46-7.
46-7, and the only points that Barron had was a kickoff return by Gage Allen for a touchdown. Scored no offensive touchdowns. Had again turnovers, 2 interception returns for touchdowns.
Yeah,
and just did not. I think we had less than 6 first downs, and defensively didn't have Ryan Shirley for that game, our leading tackler. He'll be back this week. He had an ankle injury. That was precautionary, but it seemed like it's hard to judge emotion. This team wanted it more than other. I'm never a big believer in that. I will say Allen probably had more to play for.
They did indeed.
They did because the RPI situation. They were fighting for a first place home playoff game, and they got it.
Yep.
But when you only play 10 games, with football, I don't know how you're not motivated to play every week. I really don't. That motivation stuff just kind of mind boggles me. When you're 16, 17, 18, you play a game that you supposedly love against a long time rival, Allen County, outside of Glasgow, Barron's biggest rivalry.
Yeah.
And but Allen jumped on them early, and the game was. It's 20 to nothing before we scored on the kickoff return, and then they answered right back with the drive. So, they got some good players. It's not a great Allen County team. They're 6-4. Jax Cooper's a really good player.
Yeah.
5th-year player, and their quarterback I think is solid. But it's a game in which you play that game, 3rd game of the year, and it's probably a dogfight. But the way it worked out, it did not play very well.
Well, and it's I kind of wondered if going into that game, you mentioned one team definitely having something to play for, and the other team coming off a game in which they had something to play for and couldn't, and just wasn't able to win that game, and the emotional letdown from that. And your playoff situation's already set. If you're Barron County, you're going to Central Hardin. I do wonder if not just the emotions, but just the general feeling was, well, we just need to get through this game and get focused on that Central Hardin game.
I can't imagine that as a player that would be going through your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I really because football is. That's supposed to be. That's enough. Should be the Friday night's fun.
Yeah. I mean, the fun part is the game.
Yeah, I just that sport to go through the motions just doesn't register with me.
Yeah.
But I know emotion's part of it, and maybe there was a little bit of that, but Allen and the teams that jump ahead oftentimes they're emotionally up. It makes you look like you're ready to go in your head.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to climb back into it, sometimes it looks like
Yeah. It's like the basketball principle. If you're making shots, it's easier to play defense.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So regardless, you want to win every game you can play, but Barron goes in with a 3-7 against the Central Hardin team that we've beaten 2 straight times.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very winnable game, though the way the two teams are playing, Central Hardin is playing better than we are right now. Though Central Hardin is coming off a loss, but they're also a good, I think it's a South Odom team that's pretty good.
Yeah, I would say I didn't think this when the season started, but as the season has gone along, I decided this district is actually a toss-up. Any of these teams could actually come out as the winner after these 2 weeks in these district playoff rounds. And the key difference is going to be, not making mistakes and executing the offense and the defense. I know that sounds so simple.
Well, they're not making mistakes. You cannot afford to turn the ball over and either give the other team an easy score, which is what we've been doing, or turn it over into their field position. Against Meade County, Barron failed to catch a kickoff, in which the other team recovered or won. Now, does that go down as a turnover? No, but it's just like one.
Yeah.
And then against Allen, on a punt, we went down to our knee as we were punting, the ball was low, and our punter went down to the knee and caught it. And once you have the ball with your knee down, the other team gets it. And that was at the 12.
Yeah.
So things like that are just things that you just if you want to beat teams that are even or better than you, those mistakes are hard to overcome. So I guess what it's fair to say is Barron has to play cleaner. Mm-hmm. Somehow have got to generate some offense.
Yeah.
And that has been a major struggle trying to move the ball effectively. So in that sense, maybe our defense has to make a few plays. Barron's defense may have to create something and things like that. And clearly you cannot give the other team easy opportunities.
Yeah, I do think you're correct on that, is that during these last few weeks when they've struggled on offense, I think the defense has played well enough to win the game.
Not great, but not.
But they haven't generated anything for the offense in a lot of situations, and that's something that needs to happen.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Yeah,
pick off fumble recovery. Get a kickoff return. That normally, if you get a kickoff return for a touchdown, those are bonus points.
Yeah,
that's all. But that's all Barron got against Allen.
Yeah, so they are entering a game this week in which they know they can beat this team. They've just got to clean up the things they've been not getting correct the last couple of weeks in order to win the game, because the last one was a dogfight. This one will be too, no doubt about it. And as you said, and Central Hardin, I feel like, has got to be a team that comes into this game that feels like they are the better team.
Well, they're 7-3, and after losing to Barron the last 2 years, they have to be focused.
They can be motivated.
They're very motivated. It's exactly right. So I don't think we're going to catch them off guard.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, it'll be a couple of big playoff games coming up this week for our teams. Hopefully they're still going next week. We'll see when that time comes.
That's right.
Real quick, I wanted to wrap up and talk a little bit about Caverna wrapped up their season. They're not playing in the playoffs. Because they played the non-district schedule this year. I think they finished the year 5-5. Or maybe 5-6 because they had the.
I don't think they put 11 games, did they?
Well, they didn't, but that COVID cancellation against Hart County goes down in the loss column. But I don't know how that cleans up in the end.
Okay.
So they wind up playing 11 games because they could fill in their bye week with a game that they got to play, and they did play that game.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't. Like I said, it's a little bit confusing to not play in the playoffs but have a 5-6 record. But anyway, 5 wins is the most they've had in a number of years. They got a young group coming up. I know they've done well in those middle school playoffs. So hopefully they can follow this path of a couple of other schools in our area, play this non-district schedule, get their program back on its feet, and then get going in the right direction. It worked miracles for Logan County,
Sure
I can
did.
tell you that.
Yep.
All right, it's Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, the cross-country season wrapped up this past weekend with the state meet in Paris. It's a lovely time to run by the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, there's not quite Paris, France.
Yeah. There was no Eiffel Tower. There was a mud pit out there. There may have been the Seine on that
Bourbon
thing.
County is a beautiful place.
Is it?
Yes, it's beautiful up there. It's horse country, a lot of horse farms, but evidently the track and the conditions, of course, it's not their fault that it rained, as much as it rained, but it was tough running conditions.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of the times, and actually some people had impressive times, especially considering the condition of the course itself. Because, you think about running on sand as being difficult because it is, and it's strenuous. But the thing about mud is you have no traction.
That's
You
correct.
have traction on sand. It's just hard to run on.
And it's not straightaway running either.
Yeah. So you go around the turn, there's no telling what's happening with your sense of balance and your feet flying everywhere. So, yeah, it was an impressive run. Gracie Reed finished 12th in the state as an 8th grader.
And we're talking about 300 runners, right?
Yeah, I believe that is correct. Yeah, there was 250 to 300 somewhere.
Yeah, and she broke 20.
Yeah, she ran a 19:58.18.
That's a good time. That's a really, really good time. And to be 12th as an 8th grader at that level, that's solid. And the winner is from Madison Central, I believe, and she's won it 4 straight years as a junior, and she was in the 1800s.
Yeah, Sierra O'Shea is her name.
She's like one of the top in the country.
Yeah, she ran 18:25, and she was a minute faster than second place.
And it's hard to envision how the distance of a minute.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a quarter of a mile, I think, maybe more than that. I mean, it's a monster distance.
It's because it is basically a 400 distance difference between you and whoever's behind you when you get down to it, 400 meters.
Yeah.
And the thing about a cross country meet is like you see her come and cross the finish line, and then you're like,
okay,
where's everybody else?
That's correct.
Because because of the curves and all, and I've not seen that course, but I imagine when she finishes, you probably can't see who's in second if she's behind them by a minute.
That's quite impressive. But that's a big time performance by Gracie Reed.
Yes.
So she was 12th. Chesney was
McPherson.
She was.
I didn't write down her placement. It was in
30s, wasn't it?
Yeah, 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 32, something like that.
Right.
But she ran 20:54:53.
Okay.
I would say maybe the muddy course had a harder time.
Oh, I'm sure.
She ran a minute faster than that in the regional.
Right.
And so that was her time. And then of course Barron as a team was up there. I don't remember exactly where they finished.
20 something.
Yeah, out of like almost 40 schools, I think it was. And so the other runners for Barron, Mary Warren, Anna Kate Alexander, Caroline Geralds, Addison Smith, and Katie Geralds were on the team. And then on the boys' side, Bodie Miller. And then Bodie Miller for Barron on the boys' side. He ran 19:12. And then on Friday, they ran the 2A. Glasgow ran in that. We had Glasgow's Mia Cassidy ran. She ran 22:42. And Quentin Gresham ran for the boys. He ran 19:22.
Yeah, well, congratulations to them all. It's if you've never been to a cross-country meet, the state meet's incredible to watch. I mean, it's just unbelievable to watch. But those kids, they start when it's about 100 degrees and they end when it's like 40 and rain. It's a tough sport, and so congratulations to all just to make it to the state level. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we want to talk about that real quick, and then we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to have Coach Pippen, Craig Pippen with us.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's hanging out here with us.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's almost basketball season, John. Isn't that amazing?
I forgot.
Yeah, so Coach Pippen's with us. We're going to get the other basketball coaches in here over the next couple of weeks as a Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
All right, we're back here. We have Coach Craig Pippen with us. In his second year of coaching the Glasgow Lady Scotties, some people may remember, he was at Russell County for a while, won a region over there, had a good time over there. Came over and helped Justin Simpson as an assistant. I think you were just 1 year helping him. Is that right, Coach?
That's right.
And then you took over last year when Justin stepped over and became the middle school principal. So, that's a good move for you there. I guess let's start with this. You had Ansley Adwell. She was the only senior you had last year, but obviously she was one of the better players in the area. Now at Bellarmine, and so you have a crop of players who are, I guess you're trying to figure out how to get them to all fill in these gaps, because I know you had to lean on Ansley a lot last year just because of her experience, if nothing else.
Well, she led us in about every category, and then it wasn't just about points and steals and assists and rebounds. When you take a girl who's started since 8th grade and had the leadership skills that she had out of the program, then you're relying on a lot of the other girls to step up. Now, one of the good things about it is that we're not relying on her anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of times the girls were relying on her for everything and had a hard time getting them going. So, it was a huge loss for us, but I'm happy for her. She's at Bellarmine doing well, and I've talked to her this morning, so she's happy and doing good. So
good. Yeah, because sometimes when you have a player that is so good, you have a tendency your other players might stand around and watch them play sometimes and not really know exactly what they need to do. And I guess that's what you're referring to there. But now you have a bunch of players, and they all have to take on the roles
right.
that they're responsible for. We
have, James, we have 8-9 girls where there's really not a standout, okay? And what I mean by that is they all have similar skill sets. They all work hard. We can go 8 or 9 deep and really not lose a lot. And they all have accepted and embraced their role. So I'm really enjoying practice right now. We're undefeated, and so that needs to be noted. And, so it's just a good time to be a basketball coach.
Tell me a little about some of these players coming back or otherwise. If you have any additions this year that you didn't have from last year. I think you have 4 seniors. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I wanted to talk about the seniors first. Mariana Bradley, she's a guard. Micaiah Fogel's a guard. Skylar Campbell's a guard forward. And then a new girl that came out this year, I think she may have played some middle school basketball, is Adrienne Scott. So she's got the most work to do because she has to learn a system.
Right.
And it takes a long time to learn a system when you have a lot of plays and has to adjust to a coach, where the other ones, they knew my personality, they didn't know what I expect. But our other 3 seniors, they're experienced. I expect them to step on the floor this year and do things that they couldn't do last year. More or less, bring more confidence, more leadership. And and they have all improved, So, but those three seniors, Skylar, Mariana, and Micaiah, we're expecting big things from them. Adrienne is going to be more of a learning year, and she's just going to have to understand it's going to take some time.
Yeah. When you mentioned your system, what exactly kind of system do you like to run?
Well, as small as we are, we like to push the ball up the floor. We've got shooters. We don't have, we have girls that can play post, but we don't. I'm not blessed with a 6'3" girl. Okay, we've got a couple girls that play the post that are about 5'10", 5'9". And they do a pretty good job, but we're not blessed with a lot of size. We're small, but we do have girls that can shoot it. So we're going to, rebound the ball, get it out of the basket, whatever, and push it up the floor, spread the floor, look for opportunities to get to the basket, and then spot up, have our three-point shooter spot up. So we're going to play more of a transition style game.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your seniors. Who are some of the other players that you're going to be leaning on to get things done for you this year?
Well, in the junior class, we're going to lean strongly on Cadence Bird. Right now, I've got her at the point position. She played a lot of 2 last year, but she's really kind of fit that position a little bit better this year. Ashton Botts, I'm going to play her more at the 2 spot.
Right.
She's shooting the ball a lot better. Of course, Mia Casti, she'll be in the same position. She played a lot of 2 and 3. She led us in 3 points last year, 3-pointers, and she's one of our better defenders. And then you got Davini, the Prophet, is back. We've got to get her to where she can get out, come out on the floor and be a post presence for us. Mm-hmm. And then other than that, we got Chloe Hale, who's a sophomore, mm-hmm. and Chloe had a really good year last year as a freshman. So I'm eager to see what she can do this year and kind of take her game to a higher level.
It looked like last year you started working her into doing some things a little differently than, I think maybe she kind of was a shooter to start with.
Yes, she was. She was, and we're trying to. She's going to be an inside-out player, but she's shooting the ball real well. And then obviously you got Janae Bradley, and Janae, I'm going to brag a lot on her right now. Janae had a great first week of practice, and she's one of those girls that when she brings energy and wants to be at practice and really gets into it, she makes our team a lot better. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to stay on her all year and just tell her, look, this team is very reliant on your energy and the things that you can do. She's a natural athlete, and when she's playing well, she just takes us to a different level. So, she's one that we're really going to count on.
It looked like she's a player who potentially inside could do some work for you, even though she's not necessarily big.
Right.
But she looks like she has the skills inside to get some work done.
Well, she's an inside player that runs the floor real well.
Yeah.
She can get out and go. She's got a great first step. When she catches the ball at the high post, she's got a great first step to get to the rim. Last year, I think she passed the ball out too much instead of trying to go one-on-one more. Mm-hmm. So I'm really trying to work with her as, look, when you're one-on-one, that's an opportunity for you to go to the basket.
Yeah.
Now, if they collapse on you, that's another ball game. You can get the ball out to the shooters. But so we're working with her on that as well. So
I've noticed, I think there are 18 games on your schedule. I imagine that I saw on the KHSA website. I imagine that's not accurate.
No, I've got to get on there and add the games that we've. Yeah, it's not going to be like last year. We're going to end up playing 30 regular season games. Mm-hmm. We're going down to Cumberland County. We're playing in their tournament after Christmas. We open up with Logan County, and then we got Russell County at home. That's a game that I really want to win. Yeah. Anytime you leave one school and go to the next, and you have to play. They had
some when you were an assistant and you guys lost to them.
Oh yeah, we lost to them twice.
Yeah. They had some words to say after that.
Yeah, it wasn't real fun, and I had to remind them. I was assistant coach. They were giving me high fives going through the line. I wasn't real happy about that, and I said, guys, I'm not the head coach. Wait till next year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I imagine that is a game you got circled on your calendar.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And I noticed you guys you're doing that fourth region challenge again, and you're playing Greenwood in that particular game.
Correct.
That should be a pretty interesting matchup for you, I think.
Yeah, because we lost Ansley and they lost the Jackson girl, so they still got a lot of good players back, so that's going to be a tough game for us. And James, we're hosting a classic this year, and I don't know if it's on the schedule you just gave me. I don't think it is, but it's going to be on December 11th.
Okay.
And what I have done is matched up the fourth region with out of region teams. Okay. So we've got in region, we've got Bowling Green playing, we've got ourselves, Metcalf, and some others. So we've got a strong 5-game day on December 11th. So I just need to go out and get sponsors for that. So.
Yeah, that sounds good. I always like those kinds of things.
Yeah,
you can play a lot of basketball if you're a fan of basketball.
Well, and it's important when you host those kind of tournaments or classics at your site. The girls take pride in that. Mm-hmm. Instead of us having to go watch it, we're hosting, and they kind of see what all goes into organizing an event.
Yeah. When you look down your schedule, there's some things on it where you're like, okay, we're going to learn some things about our young players here. And I say young because mostly you do have a pretty young team overall. Mm-hmm. We're going to learn some things about our players here. This is a good benchmark game or that kind of thing.
Barron County twice or 3 times. I'm just going to say, be truthful. Them Bowling Green, what I see, is 2 strongest teams in the region again.
Yeah.
I think Barron County's going to push for a region championship. Coach Piper does a great job. She's got everybody back, and now she's got healthy. Mm-hmm. Some of the players that she didn't have last year that got hurt are healthy. So she's going to, they're going to be full throttle. Mm-hmm. So those are going to be 2, 3, 4 tough games. Other than that, Warren Central is going to be tough. They were much improved last year. Going to Logan County is not going to be a picnic. They lost some players, but they're always tough to play over there.
Yeah.
So, just looking at all these, Monroe County is going to be better this year. They've got most everybody back. Allen County, I think they're going to be similar to us in terms of how many players they've lost and what they're going through. Mm-hmm. So those are just some of the, opponents I'm looking at here.
Do you kind of break up your schedule when you look at it and say, this group of games is going to, we're working things here, and then we're looking to work at different things here? And sometimes I think coaches tell me, like, these Christmas area tournaments are great team bonding situations. Is that kind of how you look at that too?
Yeah, I think it's important to do that. It's important to get away together and do those things. We really do a lot outside the gym. Mm-hmm. Okay, like Saturday we had a shoot around and we all went to breakfast. We've been bowling. We went bowling twice last year. We do like to eat. Okay, so we do a lot of after practice. Hey, let's go Mexican. I think it's important to get the girls away from the gym together and the coaches together with the girls, because it's just when you're closer together and you love one another, you tend to have better seasons. Right. When there's no jealousy or fighting or bickery going on, you're probably going to have a better season. So that's always important.
What are some expectations you have for this season?
Cut down our turnover. Last year, our Achilles heel was turnovers. Mm-hmm. We averaged more than 20 a game, and that was just something that we worked on all year long. Every day we'd work on pressure passing drills, and then you go into a game and you turn it over 22 times, and it's the unforced errors that kills me. I don't mind a team pressing us, and they got a really effective press, and we turned the ball over some. But last year we were throwing. You thought it would. Some of our guards thought it was a tax credit the way we were turning the ball over, and we got to really get that number down. Mm-hmm. You always want your assists higher than your turnovers, but it wasn't even close last year. Another area is rebounding. We're small. We're going to have to block out, put bodies on people, and be physical. And then the third one is probably be patient, knowing when to shoot and when not to shoot. I explained our three-point shooters, just because you're open doesn't mean that's a good shot. Mm-hmm. Okay, because you have time, score, momentum dictates what shot you want, and they're still trying to understand time management. So
yeah. I guess you mentioned the being small overall as a team. I guess also you're going to need your guards and those kind of guys to get some rebounds for you as well.
Exactly. And, Ashton Botts is a good rebounder. Mia Cassie's a good rebounder. Cadence, she needs to just stay back, and stay back off transition. But, yeah, those guards are going to have to be actively involved on the glass for sure. Yeah.
Anything else about this season that you can think of?
I'm excited that we're going to have a regular season. It just seems like we're getting back to normal. Mm-hmm. Last year we couldn't play till after Christmas, so we missed all those classics and tournaments. And we're just enjoying being together and working hard. And our goal is to get better every day. Yep. And that's one of the things that we ask ourselves after every practice. One of the things I say every day after practice: did we get better today? And I just want them to understand every time we come in the gym, that's our goal, is to get better, and the wins and losses take care of themselves.
All right. Well, I look forward to it, Coach Pippen. It was fun talking to you last year. It'll be fun again this year, I'm sure.
Well, I appreciate y'all having us. Thank you.
All right. It's Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, you nailed it, or at least seemingly you nailed it, that when you mentioned a couple of weeks ago that the MAC was the perfect conference for WKU and for Middle Tennessee, and as of the moment, the reports are out there that the MAC is meeting to discuss inviting WKU and MTSU to their league.
Yeah, I don't think it's speculation. I think there's credible reports.
Yeah,
it's not
underway.
Yeah, it's not just some Joe speculating. It's credible reports that the MAC is, for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, because that was my response when
it's considering expansion.
Yeah, because that was my response when you brought it up was, well, that is great, but they've not moved in any way. Nobody's left and nobody's joined in years.
Right.
So it was a bit surprising, but it is such an obvious choice for WKU and MTSU to join the MAC. It's just perfect in every way. They get away from all his Texas travels. If this comes up to fruition, it's a bunch of Ohio and Michigan schools. And even though Kentucky likes to sometimes think of itself in the South, especially this part of it,
right?
I mean, and it's really it's a better fit than Conference USA is right now.
Yes, it is. It is, and the conference is a strong basketball conference.
Yes, it is,
which fits with WKU. Football is a good football conference.
Yep.
Better than what they're leaving.
Yep.
I don't know about volleyball, and the reason why I throw volleyball out is because of how dominant Western is. I guarantee you it's better than the conference they're leaving, because Western's won about 100 in a row in volleyball.
Yeah.
Probably not as good in baseball, just for, the Conference USA was a really good baseball conference, but all that
has some traditional strong programs.
Right. So, but overall, if they could land that's a stable conference, and to me, it's their best option.
Yeah.
And they've got to get somewhere, in my opinion, because the Conference USA is just almost been obliterated, down to 5.
You know what Conference USA reminds me of is someone. And I think of this in from something like the Pirates of the Caribbean, where the ship's been shot all to pieces, and the guy's standing on the deck of it saying all's well, kind of thing. It's not.
No, I don't know how you fix it.
No,
because I just don't think it's helpful to reach out to Sam Houston or to New Mexico. Some of the things that they've been talking about, that just doesn't seem like it's with the contract money they're going to get. The travel is just.
Yeah.
And there's no rivals there or anything like that, and I can instantly see, rivalries with in the MAC with Miami of Ohio and schools like that. It won't take long, and they've got nice arenas. It's a tradition-rich. I think it's a great place to go.
Yeah.
And maybe not. The MAC presidents may decide they're just going to stay as they are.
Yeah.
But at least they're considering Western and Middle.
Mm-hmm. And Conference USA has signaled for a long time it wants to make that Western move, just by the sense that they've placed their tournament, their championships there in Dallas, in Frisco actually is where it is, and things of that nature, and they've been flirting with the schools.
And they got bit by that part of the conference.
They did. They got bit by that part of the conference. And I think the other thing that has happened to Conference USA is the whole scheduling menagerie that came to be a couple of years ago in basketball, and trying to find a way to get a couple of teams into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, when they basically said the last 4 games we're just going to wait to the end of the year, and we're going to match teams up at the last 4 games of the year.
Yeah, to try to improve their ratings and that kind of stuff.
Which did not work.
No, it didn't work, and it was a disaster for probably for the coaches. But it was definitely a disaster for the support staff and that kind of stuff at the schools who were there to try to,
travel arrangements and so forth.
All that kind of stuff that's usually worked out months in advance.
Yes.
And so, it was just a pain, and obviously nobody liked it. And I think that is one of the things that precipitated the things that have happened to Conference USA since, with these other schools just bailing out and that kind of thing. It's just, it's been detrimental in so many ways. Yeah. And I don't know, it's kind of to me, personally, it's a little bit of a shame, because I went to Southern Miss, and it was one of the first programs, to join Conference USA when it was founded, and I thought it was a really good conference, and it was probably for 20 years.
Yep.
But the last 6 or 7 have obviously been problems.
Yep.
So, hopefully it works out, the WKU and Middle Tennessee.
Well, they deserve it, because I've said this about Western. Whatever conference you put them in, they have been front runners.
Yeah.
And all of them.
Yeah.
And nobody has won more conference championships in Conference USA than the Western programs.
Mm-hmm. Well, so meanwhile, in other college football news, we had a couple of Louisville lost to North Carolina State. Maybe that wasn't surprising.
No, it wasn't surprising. Again, another close game, close loss. Same old, tied going in the fourth quarter.
Right. And then the one that was surprising, though, was Kentucky losing.
Not to me.
Well, you're right. You thought that was going to be a tough game for Kentucky, and I really didn't believe
I have been consistent in my statement that Kentucky is good defensively. Got a great offensive line. I have questioned the quarterback at times.
Yeah. And he was not good.
He was not good. And when you take away the running game, can he win games for you? And he really struggled. Mm-hmm. And give old Mike Leach credit. I mean, that quarterback was, I think he was 30 5 out of 38, something
Yes.
like that. Incredible against
What's his name, John?
Against a really good the quarterback Rogers.
Yeah, Will Rogers.
Yes, Will Rogers.
I love the fact
Will
that his name
Rogers.
is Will Rogers.
Yeah, but I mean, Mike Leach had it going, and
Yeah.
they've beaten Texas A&M at Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky. I mean, they got a solid team, and if you give Mike Leach a good defense,
Yeah.
I mean that's always been his problem, but they've got a really good defense, and yeah, Kentucky now, and they're still in the top 20. I think they dropped to 18.
Yeah.
Probably the most important game they'll play all year is this Saturday against Tennessee, and
Yes.
that's not a gimme.
No. It's a game that 2 weeks ago everybody would have said, oh, yeah, Kentucky's going to win that one.
Right.
After the past 2 games, I say 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, after the past 2 games in which we've seen their offense just struggle, and
Well,
we understand that against Georgia, but it's tougher to understand that against Mississippi State.
Well,
'cause
their running
defense
game
has
was
not
back.
been
Chris
great.
Rodriguez, who was like all SEC early in the year, has really struggled. Can't hang on to the ball.
Yeah.
Only carried it 3 or 4 times against Mississippi State. Really kind of strange. I don't know if he's in a doghouse. Not really sure what's going on. But they're going to I listened to Coach Stoops after the game. He was, to say the least, disappointed. Probably more angry than anything else. So we'll see if he can get them back on schedule.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Hilltoppers, they won their game on Friday night. Actually, that may have been the best game they've played in total this year, offense and defense.
I can't tell. I mean, I can't tell how good Charlotte, another team that's coveted by
People in the Northeast or something.
coveted by other teams. I mean, are they're back to the Sun Belt, or are they to the
No,
American?
they're one of the ones going to the AAC.
So they're going to the American.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Another team leaving the conference, and
Yeah.
and Western put a pretty big whipping on them. I mean, Western offensively is just they're at a really high level,
Right.
real high level, and road against it's homecoming, bad weather. I mean, it's a decent crowd.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it was, but I know it was cool. But they got another win, and since they got in Sunbelt play outside of the first game, they've played real well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about that game, and maybe even last week's game, was just the fact that they started well, which is a thing they had struggled with even in games, the entire year. They started well and they played well offensively, from the get-go, and they left no doubt. They left Charlotte no window to compete, basically,
Yep.
and which is what, when you're in their position, that's what you really want to try to do.
Right, and their defense is. They're either playing better or just the level of competition is easier. It's hard to tell.
Take the glass half full or half empty, whichever way you want.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both.
I do know. I mean, D'Angelo Malone had a solid game, and he's actually played well the whole season. Some of their losses has overshadowed his performance, I think, during the course of the season.
Dalvin Smith, another touchdown pass.
Yeah, he's
catch,
like
right?
Chris Carter. All he does is catch touchdowns. That's
What's
one
that?
of my,
4 or 3? 3 or 4, isn't it?
I think, yeah. And so one of my favorite supposed slanders of Chris Carter all time was when a guy made the comment that all he does is catch touchdowns, and it's like, okay. I mean, if that's all he does, that's all you need him to do, right?
Pretty good quality.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not a bad quality of football.
Pretty good quality.
And then on more Hilltopper front news, Mike White got his first start for the Jets on Sunday and lit it up.
Was that impressive?
Yeah, it was.
Over 400 yards and a comeback win against a really good Cincinnati team.
Yes.
And, it's possible the Jets aren't as bad as the Jets have played most of the year because maybe they were playing the wrong person.
One of those lucky breaks. Huh?
Well, I mean, it's one of those deals where, they invested the second overall pick with a quarterback, Zach Wilson.
Yep.
And obviously they gave him a chance. He's hurt right now. But, boy, it makes it a real difficult decision if Mike White ends up giving them a better opportunity to win than the rookie.
Yes.
In a lot of ways, Mike White is kind of a rookie.
Yes.
I mean, he's
hardly played. He's been on scout teams and
that's
everything
exactly
else.
right. I mean, he's been out of the league. He's been in the league 4 or 5 years. But if you've never played, and he had no game film last year because of COVID, because there was no preseason games at all.
Right.
I mean, who knows? Maybe is it possible he's just better than
He certainly looked that way on Sunday.
I mean,
he looked like on Sunday he looked like a veteran quarterback.
400 some yards against a good team.
Well, and I say the thing about the veteran because he didn't even though that was his first start, he didn't look pressured. He didn't look rushed. He didn't look out of sorts.
Not his first start. It's on. Has he even played? I mean, mop up. I don't know.
I think he's only played preseason games.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So who knows? And they play Thursday. He gets right back on. He's got a Thursday game against Indianapolis. So I mean, it was. You're talking about some spin-off recognition. WKU got some spin-off recognition.
I mean, look, Southern Miss wouldn't be as famous as it is if not for Brett Favre.
That's correct.
I mean, so that thing can work out. For
and who knows
sometimes.
if the guy that's at Western now.
Yeah. I mean, he looks
Zappy.
like
if he goes to the pros and maybe he makes it. So now you got two quarterbacks from WKU. I mean, that's
suddenly you're like California in the 80s and 90s. You're quarterback you all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, that's good. That's a good recruiting tool for the team and for whatever conference they go to.
Yep, exactly. Some not so great news out of the NFL on Sunday. Of course, Derrick Henry ended up injuring his foot.
Yeah, I do not know the extent as of our show right now, but they are worried that it could be a broken foot out for the year.
They don't know the timetable on his return, but he will have to have, I think, surgery on his foot.
And he's never hurt.
No.
Now
he's never. I don't think he's missed a game before.
No, and this is and people who are never ever hurt, when they do get hurt, it's things like this, like a broken foot, a bone, that just. It's kind of a weird deal, That's what happens to those people.
With the way he runs,
and he finished the game on that.
Yeah,
he really did.
With the way he runs, I had decided that basically he was unbreakable.
Right.
I mean, because he runs, he does not.
Well, he's not going to get. He doesn't appear that he's going to get hurt by getting tackled. Those normal things. But stress on a foot.
Yeah. And in order,
it's a big loss for Tennessee.
It is, and their response was to sign Adrian Peterson off the street.
Yeah, 36-year-old. That's a little bit different than being a 44-year-old quarterback who doesn't take near the hits. Is different from a 36-year-old running back.
Yeah, and his last time in the league, I think he had one good game. Was he playing for Washington?
Yep.
And he had like one or two good games, but he averaged around 60 yards a game. I guess it's kind of an idea of now they're going to have to go to some sort of running back by committee situation.
They will. There's no question about it. And they've got good receivers. Their quarterback is good. The question is are they really good offensively because of the pressure that Derrick Henry takes, which I kind of think they are.
Yes.
And how will that affect their passing game and everything else? We'll see. The only thing I know, they won't be as good without Derrick Henry. And
also, with what Derrick Henry does, it takes pressure off their defense, which is suspect anyway. Yep. I mean, yesterday was a prime example. They hold the Chiefs to 3 points one week, and then the Colts come back and they give up 31 to them and have to win the game. In
overtime.
And you kind of look at it and you're like, that Chiefs thing may have had more to do with the Chiefs than it did the Titans defense.
I thought it was a great win for them.
It was.
Because they're coming off the wins against the Bills and the Chiefs.
And they did look pretty sluggish.
And then go on a road and beat a good call. I mean, that's still impressive. Of course, it helped that Carson Wentz just made some horrific turnovers late in the game. The gift turnover, the touchdown, the interception, they tried to throw out of his own end zone with 2 minutes to go.
Was it batted up in the air and caught by the Titans guy basically in the end zone?
No, he flipped it left-handed.
Oh, is that what he did?
Yeah.
I missed what exactly happened.
No, he threw it left-handed. He tried to avoid a safety, and he threw it right to, you can't. Can't do that.
Yeah, that basically put the Titans in the game. Because, the Colts were in control of that game.
Yes, they were.
And then Jameis Winston injured his leg, tore his ACL, and injured his MCL. He's out for the season. That's a huge blow for the Saints.
Yep.
I know everybody thought there was a quarterback controversy coming into the year, but it was obvious that Jameis Winston was the guy to run Sean Payton's offense. And I think they finished with Trevor Siemian, who I think his last actual role was
Denver.
playing in
He played in Denver. He started for Denver for about a year.
Oh, that's right. I was thinking he was one of those dudes who had come over from one of those spring football leagues that crop up every year.
Yeah, no. He was out in Denver.
Okay. Well, either way, he was not. His last role was not one that.
No, but he came in and did a good job.
He did indeed. I think as much as anything, the Saints' defense once again proved that they do have a good defense.
They have a great defense.
And then the Rams today traded for Von Miller for the Broncos. I think they gave up some draft picks.
They do that a lot. They are not really into. They think they're in win mode, and I don't know. I didn't know they had any draft picks to trade because they traded. They tend to do that a lot.
Yeah,
they traded for Jalen Ramsey a couple years ago and traded about everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
then they traded for Safford in the offseason.
That is true. Well, that was kind of a 1-for-1 deal.
Oh, no.
Well, that's true. They gave up a bunch.
They gave up several first-round picks.
So yeah, I guess they do feel like they're in win now.
They are. They
are indeed. But look, I think the Cowboys probably proved that they definitely are the team
yesterday was
now.
Yesterday was the day of the backup quarterback, right?
Yes, it was. I mean, and
Cooper Rush filled in for
Dak Prescott there.
Threw over 300 yards plus a game winner.
Yeah, I mean, so you look at that and you're like, now I wouldn't expect them to be able to do that every week.
No,
they were letting Dak Prescott take that break, but it does show that they have the talent across that team to win the NFC.
They're so much better defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good offensively. Everybody knows that. They got the receivers, the quarterback, and the running backs, but defensively is where they made incredible strides.
Yeah. In the World Series, the Astros picked up the win on Sunday night. The Braves had a chance to win.
Yeah, Braves were up 4-0. They took a 4-0 lead in the first grand slam.
Adam Duvall, your alma mater there, Louisville, slugged a grand slam in the first inning, right?
It's the worst playoffs I can ever remember in terms of starting pitching is atrocious.
Yeah.
I mean, and most of the games I don't even start a starting pitcher anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everybody goes 1 or 2 innings. I think it's hard to watch. It's just hard for me to watch a 4.5-hour baseball game when it's constant changing pitchers over and over and over and over and over, and it's going to get worse these next 2 games in terms of I think the offense is going to really pick up because you see the same relief pitchers over and over and over, and now you know their stuff. Mm-hmm. Plus, I think they're probably wore down. So, Atlanta had an opportunity to close them out. You're up 4-0. You like to close it out at home. It was 4-0 in the first, and you were pitching a pitcher that has not. I think only pitched 5 innings all year. He was their starting pitcher, so it's not like they had a huge advantage. So, so they're going to have to get 1 out of 2 in Houston.
Well, I remember yesterday whenever they announced, or not, maybe it was yesterday, 2 days ago when they announced who the starting pitcher was, there were some folks who were like, who is that again?
Yeah, I mean, they lost Charlie Morton, broke his foot, broke his leg, actually, in the first game of the series. Mm-hmm. So he's out, but you still should have 5 starters. But neither team acts like they got 5 starters.
No, they're just Johnny come lately out there on the mound.
You're talking about that's.
Well, I don't know. I think do you think this bodes better for the Astros? I know that
I don't think
basically have to. I mean, they just got to figure out how to win a game.
But Houston didn't have any pitching either.
Yeah,
I mean it's the same way. Neither team has starting pitching.
Yeah, I guess the Braves have Adam Duvall, so he can always maybe hit the walk-off run and get it over with.
Both teams can hit, so who knows?
Well, it'll be an interesting close, I think, to this World Series here, but hopefully the Braves will bring it home.
I hope so.
All right, it's Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's in Glasgow. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for listening, and be sure and join James and John once again next Monday at 4 for the Brown Sports Bag, a local weekly sports machine presented by McDonald's of Glasgow.
Coming soon to your FM dial, this is Fox Sports Radio, WCDS Glasgow, AM 1230.